to expand the frontiers of the state and to drain the resources of the state.
All right, so let's stay a bit further on this. Patrick Stevenson is the head of economics and political affairs at Imani Ghana Policy Think Tank. Great to have you. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Alfred. Thank you for having me.
Now, I'm just going to walk you through the reason why we say that from what we have gathered, the 110 ministers as so far announced, and deputy ministers, regional ministers, makes up the highest in West Africa. What we're going to do in the days ahead of us is to do a sub-regional analysis, a continental analysis, and a global analysis. So for the West African sub-region, as you can see on your screens right now, Nigeria has 36, a population of 150. And I must say that Nigeria runs a federal government system. And so every state has its own minister and a governor and then a deputy governor for that matter. And so Nigeria in itself will be an exceptional case in this scheme of analysis. I just want to put that caveat to Nigeria being part of this. But if you look at Togo, that runs a democratic system as we do, not a federal state. Okay, so ministers there in Togo, 33, with a population of 6.8 million. Liberia, 19 ministers with a population of 4.3 million. For the Gambia, 20 ministers for a population of 1.8 million. And Niger, 21 ministers for a population of 21 million. That is how the picture looks like on your screen slide now. So we can say on authority, but per analysis from the West African sub-region, Ghana is the highest for now. We will do the continental analysis and the global analysis in the coming days. So follow us closely. Now, what I want to do right now is to walk you through how the picture looks like right now with the various ministers as announced. For the Ministry of Agriculture, it has 5 ministers. It has a substantive minister, a minister of state at the presidency in charge of agriculture, and then 3 deputies, making up 5. Education has 4. 2 deputies, a substantive minister, and then a minister of state in charge of tertiary at the office of the president. Finance minister has 4, or the finance ministry has 4 ministries or ministers in charge of that ministry. The energy ministry has 4. The local government and rural development ministry has also 4. The information ministry also has 4 ministers. We have a substantive minister and 3 deputies. For the trade and industry ministry, we have 3 ministers. Roads and highways, we have 3. Lands and natural resources, 3. Works and housing, 3. Attorney General and Minister of Justice, 3. Railways development, also 3. If you recall, this was actually thought to have been under the office of the president, but now we understand that with it having 2 deputies, we know that it's a ministry standing on its own. So that is how the picture actually looks like when you look at the analysis as we see. So out of the 110 as announced, 64 are from Parliament. 64 out of the 110 are from Parliament. And that has raised concerns by many that the oversight role of Parliament could be weakened effectively if this is maintained over the period. Patrick, now this picture you say is wrong. The NPP administration says that they have an enormous tax, a very audacious promises that they give to the people of Ghana. They need all hands on deck to deliver that mandate. What is wrong with this exactly?
Well, Alfred, I like the fact that you draw some comparatives with some other jurisdictions, right? You talk about Nigeria. But even for me, the argument about comparing to other country context may be a bit of a stretch because, you know, the governance systems are different, the needs of the countries are different, but you get the sense in that sort of argument, which is that, you know, if you don't have that much or that large size of a population like countries like Nigeria, then it makes no sense to have, you know, that number of ministers. But then again, if we had to draw the Nigerian narrative to compare to the US, for example, that has about 350 million, right? Nigeria equally is going to be found wanting. And so just comparing them maybe a bit of a stretch. The substantive concern, anytime the conversation of the size of governments, and indeed our government, has come up, has been efficiency and how the public funds it. And so if we have a government that, well, there was a government in waiting at the time that told us that we're going to find strategies for cutting back on the size of the government. The size can be defined in so many ways. And I think they are trying to find
and they said
the
that
back
they never
door.
promised a lean government.
Well,
And so if the argument is that if they have an audacious plan, and if you've promised all of this, you need everyone to be able to put their hands to it, to deliver on that promise.
Well, then
and
that's not
why
efficiency,
that
will
they
it
make
be
that
efficient?
argument.
I don't think that's efficiency, because efficiency would imply that you are going to utilize limited amount of resources to get the most outcome. I mean, if you have to increase the number of people that you have as ministers so you can deliver results, then where did we go as a country? I think the point that has to be made is that we know that all these ministers are going to be given salaries and allowances. We know they are.
Well, the
going to
information
receive.
minister has indicated that they are going to vary and not
Which
necessarily give them all the perks.
Yeah, but and that was the point I was making earlier. That when we talk about the size of government, our government in particular has always gone through the back door. You're either looking at the total number of people that are going to be employed by the government to run the public government machinery, or the cost associated with it. We know. I mean, in 2013, we had a government that told us we're withholding increments in salary for public sector workers by about 10%, only for that government to be exiting office and reinstalling that 10% decrease and stretching it backwards. So I'm saying that the behavior of our government do not give us the comfort, particularly given the current economic conditions we find ourselves. We cannot have that sort of narrative, particularly when, again, I mean, if you look at this, 64 of these ministers are coming from parliament. And this is a government that believed in the separation of powers. They believed in, governance and institutionalization, getting institutions to work. So then again, I am found wanting. What exactly is the strategy for the government at this point? This is completely needless, if you can say that. It's
and that's your position as a think tank. But then again, they say it's early days yet. Finally, it's early days yet. They would rather have you raise the question of efficiency and question the size if they are not able to deliver on it.
There are three ways to evaluate any government policy intervention, whatever it is. When the policy is being constructed, the strategy for implementation, and the results. We don't wait till the results come up before we come asking questions, or we get to implementation before we start asking questions. You recall that when, in the run-up to the elections, we started asking questions about quantification of some of the things ministers were going to do.
Right.
If we had known at the time that on issues of governance, for example, the government had in mind to run with 110 compared to the 93 that was being run by the SWAL government, there would have been a lot of concerns. We would have asked them whether they're going to raise resources to do that, but we didn't have all of these clarity. So I'm saying that we cannot wait till they have executed and look at results. Of course, when we get to that bridge, we're going to cross it. But at this point, Ghanaians need clarity. We need information. How much are they going to be paid? Don't give us bulk sum figures. Let's know how much every single minister is going to receive, what the perks look like, the burden on the government and on the government fiscal space. And then that will engender better conversation. Maybe you are right. When we have those numbers, it will make sense. But now it doesn't look so.
Patrick, thank you. But we're going to wait for a lot more detail from the presidency. Patrick Stevenson is the head of Political and Economics Unit at Imani Ghana. It's a policy and governance think tank.